It used to be so easy for automakers. If you want to have a sporty version of a certain model, you just stick a bigger engine in it. Well, it turns out it is almost just as easy with an electric car, but instead of putting a bigger motor in it, you put two motors in it. And that's exactly what Volkswagen has done with this sporty version of the ID.4, the ID.4 GTX. Until now, you could get the ID.4 with a power output of 148, 170 and 204 horsepower. Now, I've already driven the version with 204 horsepower back when it came out, and that car was pretty zippy, but it wasn't exactly fast for an electric car. It is 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 8.5 seconds, which is fine for a big family SUV, but this GTX is a whole lot faster. In this GTX you almost get 100 horsepower more, bringing the total up to 299 horsepower. This car has dual electric motors, one on the front axle and one on the rear axle, and 0 to 100 kilometers an hour only takes 6.2 seconds, which means it's just as fast as the new Golf GTI. But because you get instant torque on this electric Volkswagen, you'll be quicker off the line in this GTX than a Golf GTI, and 0 to 60 kilometers an hour only takes 3 seconds. The GTX also looks a bit more sporty than the traditional ID.4. You get a completely new bumper on the front side, and on the lower part of the bumper you get this new honeycomb grille that looks a bit like the grille that you get on a Golf GTI. You also get this light strip on the front as standard, which basically connects the two headlights with each other. These headlights are matrix LED lights that you get as standard on the GTX, and the housing is completely black on the inside, so these lights look a bit more mean. The air inlets on the front bumper are not functional, but they do have 3 integrated LED lights, which again look pretty cool. As standard you get 20-inch wheels on this GTX, but if you pay a bit extra you can go 1 inch bigger and you can get these 21-inch wheels that are on this car. Now on the side of the car you also get a GTX logo right here, and the lower parts of the door have the same color as the rest of the car. On the normal ID.4 this lower part is completely black, but on this GTX it has the same color as the rest of the car. Now as an option you can lower this car by 15mm, and you can also get adaptive dampers on this GTX. On the rear you also don't get that many changes compared to the traditional ID.4. You do get a completely new bumper here with a new design with these sharp edges that does look a bit different. Now just as on the front, also on the rear you get this light bar, or rather more a light strip. And these 3D lights here, normally you have to pay a bit extra to get them on the ID.4, but on this GTX they are standard. You also get dynamic turn signals that run from the inside to the outside of the car. And here in the middle it says GTX, where normally on an ID.4 it would just say ID.4. Now more importantly, here in the back you can get a towing hitch. Now you can also get that on the normal ID.4, but this GTX has a lot more power, so you can tow more. The normal ID.4 can tow up to 1000 to 1200 kilos if I'm correct, but this one can tow up to 1400 kilos. There's a small button here, if I press it, a tow hitch will magically appear. You just give a small gentle push and then you're ready to tow. You do have to pay extra for this option, around 900 euros. Then let's talk a little bit about the range, because the range has changed a little bit because this car has a bit more power. Now you can only get this GTX with the biggest battery that Volkswagen offers on the ID.4, and that's the 77 kilowatt hour battery. Now on the normal ID.4 you would get a range of 520 kilometers, but on this GTX with a bit more power you get a range of 480 kilometers. Now of course that are the official numbers, in reality it will be at least 50 kilometers less, but it also depends on your driving style and the weather conditions. You can fast charge this car up to 125 kilowatts, and then the battery will be up to 80% within 40 minutes. Of course you would charge this car mainly at home, and there you can charge the car up to 11 kilowatts, and then it will take around 7.5 hours to fully charge the battery. In the interior not much has changed either compared to the traditional ID.4. You do get sport seats as standard, but if you pay a bit extra you can get these bucket seats with this integrated headrest. These seats are very comfortable, but also keep you very well in your place. These are also the ergo seats, so you get a massage function and you can electrically operate them. All in all, very comfortable seats. On the GTX you also get special upholstery on the inside, and you can see this blue soft touch finish everywhere on the dashboard. You also see a lot of red stitching and red accents, like on the steering wheel, which also has GTX on it, and it also says GTX on the door sills. Now this blue material on the dashboard is not like leather, or there's no leather in this interior because this is an environment friendly car, so all the leather looking materials like on the door panels are vegan leather, but on the dashboard this is more like soft touch plastic. Now as standard you get a 10-inch screen in the center of the dashboard, but if you pay a bit extra you get this larger 12-inch infotainment screen. Now the panoramic roof that I've got here is an option, you have to pay extra for that, and basically everything else in the cabin is basically the same as in a normal ID.4, so let's go for a drive. So the GTX has dual electric motors, and the motor in the back I'm already very familiar with because that's the same motor that you get in the normal ID.4 with 204 horsepower. Now that motor does a lot of work and basically does all of the work in this GTX, because the motor in the front only starts working when you press the accelerator, which means that if you press the accelerator both motors are working, but if you let go of the gas the front engine stops working, because then you don't need much power and then it's just a loss of energy. Now because an electric motor doesn't really need to start up or rev up, you don't really notice it, so you're not waiting for the front engine to start working, it's just instantly there. So the GTX is pretty fast, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 6.2 seconds, which is pretty good for a big family SUV. You do notice that 0 to 50 kilometers an hour or 0 to 60 kilometers an hour, that goes really fast. That only takes 3 seconds, and then you start to notice that the speed and the acceleration starts to drop off a bit. And when I first drove the ID.4 when it just came out a couple of months ago, I was very surprised by how sporty the ride was. The car wasn't fast in a straight line, not at all for an electric car, but it did handle great in the corners. Now that's of course still the same with this GTX, and this GTX is more sporty, but that's mainly because of the extra power that you get, and not because the chassis has changed much, because it really hasn't changed that much, the chassis. You can lower this car by around 15 millimeters, but you can also do that on the normal ID.4. You do get adaptive dampers on this car, and so you can change the ride to be more sporty or more comfortable, and this car has torque factoring that the normal ID.4 doesn't have. But basically the ride is almost the same, which isn't a bad thing because, as I said, the ride was already pretty sporty. And also you shouldn't forget that this car weighs over 2200 kilos, which means that this car really doesn't handle as a Golf GTI obviously, but also not like a Volkswagen T-Roc R or a Tiguan R if you want to compare it to other SUVs by Volkswagen that are a bit more sporty. I think this GTX is just a nice and roomy family SUV with plenty of power and a sporty ride. And because the ride is just as comfortable as the normal ID.4, I would say this is the ID.4 to get. It is a bit more expensive though, this version. The normal ID.4 with the bigger battery starts in the Netherlands from 46,000 euros. This GTX starts from around 52,000 euros. So that's it for this video with the Volkswagen ID.4 GTX. If you liked it, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more videos like this, and I hope you do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you at the next video.